You ever look at your bank account and wonder where all the money went? It feels like no matter how much you make, your wallet just stays empty. It's a problem as old as time. But what if the answer wasn't some newfangled app or a crazy trading strategy, but a book of simple stories written almost 100 years ago? This right here is the heart of it all. This one sentence from George S. Clason's classic, The Richest Man in Babylon. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But this is more than just saving. It's a complete shift in how you think about money. The idea that the very first person you pay from every paycheck is yourself. And that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, we live in a world of crypto, high-speed trading, and a million different ways to spend our money. Can a bunch of parables set in ancient Babylon really teach us anything about wealth today? Well, let's dive in and find out. To really get this advice, we've got to look at where it came from. Because this isn't a book written by some out-of-touch professor in an ivory tower. No, this was born from some serious, real-world financial pain. You see, the author, George S. Clason, he wasn't a banker or an economist. He was a map maker. And when the Great Depression hit, his business got completely wiped out. So these pamphlets were his way of sharing the tough, practical lessons he learned about money, not as some abstract theory, but as a genuine tool for survival. Okay, so the foundation of the whole book is built on what Clason calls the 7 cures for a lean purse. Think of these as 7 super straightforward rules designed to take anyone from broke to financially stable. All right, let's break these down. First up, start thy purse to fattening. That's the big one we already talked about. Pay yourself first, at least 10%. Simple. Number 2, control thy expenditures. You gotta live within your means, no way around it. 3, make thy gold multiply. In other words, invest it. Let your money work for you. 4 is all about defense. Guard thy treasures from loss. Steer clear of those sketchy get-rich-quick schemes. 5, make thy dwelling a profitable investment. Basically, own your own home if you can. 6 is about the long game. Ensure a future income. Plan for retirement. And finally, the one that powers everything else. Increase thy ability to earn. Always be investing in yourself and your skills. It's a whole financial game plan, right there. So once you've stopped your wallet from leaking money, how do you actually grow what you have? Well, the book has an answer for that too, with what it calls the 5 laws of gold. These are basically the timeless rules for how money behaves and grows. And what you'll notice here is how active these rules are. It's not just about hoarding cash. That first law is our old friend, save at least 10%. The second is about putting that money to work. But look at the last 3. They're all about being smart with your risk. Invest with wise people, don't throw your money into stuff you don't understand, and for goodness sake, avoid those schemes that promise you the moon. It's a recipe for slow, steady, and sustainable growth. Okay, so all of this sounds like pretty solid, maybe a little old-fashioned advice. But here's where it gets really cool. Modern economic science has basically come along and proven that these ancient rules are incredibly, incredibly effective. Let's go back to that number 1 rule, pay yourself first. You might think, okay, that's just a matter of discipline, right? But it turns out there's a much deeper psychological trick at play here. This is a textbook example of what modern economists call a pre-commitment device. Think about it. Our brains are kind of wired to prioritize today over tomorrow. We promise ourselves we'll save whatever's left at the end of the month, but then life happens. By making your savings automatic, like a 401k contribution that comes right out of your paycheck, you take willpower completely out of the equation. You're literally locking in a good decision now that your future self is going to be so grateful for. It's one of the most powerful tricks that behavioral economics has ever confirmed. And hey, remember that other rule, the one about increasing your ability to earn? Well, that piece of advice also has a really powerful modern counterpart. It's not just about asking for a raise. It's a fundamental principle of how economies work. This is the absolute heart of what economists today call human capital theory. The idea is simple. The single best investment you will ever make is in yourself. Your knowledge, your skills, your experience. Those are assets, and they generate returns for your entire life. It's wild to think that Clason was talking about this decades before it became a cornerstone of modern economics. But this brings us to the biggest knock against the book. If these rules are so simple and so timeless, aren't they just, common sense? A little too obvious, maybe? Yeah, this comment from a user on Reddit just perfectly captures that skepticism. The advice can feel almost painfully obvious. And if you're someone who already has a good handle on your finances, it might not feel all that revolutionary. But that skepticism actually points to a much deeper, more valid critique. So here's the thing. The book's real power is its intense focus on what you as an individual can do. Your habits, your discipline. But, and this is a huge but, critics are absolutely right when they point out that this focus has a massive blind spot. It completely ignores the real-world systemic barriers that a lot of people face. Things like massive income inequality, or lack of access to education, or unfair credit systems can make these simple rules feel almost impossible to follow. So yeah, it's a fantastic personal finance tool, but it is not a fix for society's larger economic problems. So keeping all that in mind, what's the real takeaway here? The book leaves us with one last really powerful metaphor that I think sums up its whole philosophy perfectly. Ancient Babylon was famous for one thing above all else: its massive, impenetrable walls. They protected the city's wealth and its people, and the book argues that your financial plan should do the exact same thing. These cures and laws, they're not just about getting rich. They're about building a fortress of financial security around you and your family, a fortress that can handle whatever life throws at it. And in the end, maybe the book's biggest secret is that knowing what to do isn't the hard part. Doing it is. We all know we should probably save more and spend less. The real challenge is turning that common sense into common practice. So the question the book leaves us with isn't for the world, it's for you. Which of these simple rules will you actually put into action? What's the very first brick you're going to lay?